What's up, GameLeapers? Coach Sleaze is back at it, and in today's video, we're going to be revealing the 20 worst champions of the new patch 11.6. So if you want to know which champions to stay away from in the next 2 weeks, then the next 10 minutes are a must watch. Now, with each new patch, guys, comes a bit of stress and commotion, and what also comes around is a bit of a shift in the meta. Some champions become instantly OP, and some become instantly trash tier, but don't worry, the Sleaze has it all covered. Now, to make sure you have Season 11 covered, I can offer you something even better, and that's a subscription to our GameLeap website. You can get access to our exclusive Challenger tier courses, guides, and videos that are uploaded daily. I myself am uploading a video a day on there as well, and I wouldn't be telling you to head on over there if I didn't believe in it. So get signed up, links as always in the description and comment section. Alright, let's get into it, guys, and starting off the countdown is a champion many of you might be like, Sleaze, are you drunk, bro? Because she has played a lot in pro play, and Dopa loves playing her as well. And this, of course, is ORIANNA, and you are right, she has played in pro play, but that's because teams are on the same page. And let's be honest, in solo queue, you're lucky if you and your teammates are in the same book. Also, Uda and Hecarim are two big priority junglers in high levels of play, and Orianna synergizes great with them because she can speed them up and use her shockwave around their engage, but both are weaker, especially Hecarim in 11.6 because his Q is getting nerfed. Now, the nerf to Seeker's arm guard is also a killer for Orianna because against AD assassins and AD champions in general, Seekers gave you that early to mid game armor you needed to repel those champions. It is true that with your E you get bonus armor when your bullet's on you, but nowhere near enough to stop the Zeds, the Talons, and the Kianas of the Rift from going ham. The fact that Orianna as well has around a 47% win rate, guys, across all elos tells the story. She's tough to make work, and it will be tougher next patch for sure, even if the new effect in Luden's Tempest allows you to trigger its passive more often. Now, just ahead of Orianna, guys, we have a champion who many of you might consider to be broken, but this top laner is getting nerfed in 11.6 and therefore will not be as strong. It's kind of ironic because like Orianna, he is picked in pro play a ton, but in solo queue, he's actually bad, and this is RENEKTON. So next patch, guys, the Croc is going to be way less fierce because Ryder nerfing your ultimate's bonus health for later ranks, which is huge because you fall off late game anyway, so to fall off even harder doesn't exactly help. On top of that, one mythic item you can build is getting nerfed too, and that is Strybreaker. So the health is down 100, and then we have Sterix Gauge getting nerfed as well. But I should point out here, guys, that Riot have allegedly fixed a bug with Steraks whereby your subsequent bloodline stacks were not in fact stacking. So if this is true, it's actually a big buff overall, so a bit of a silver lining perhaps. Regardless, in 11.6 you're losing a lot of your bonus HP, therefore making it a lot easier for the enemy team to take you down, so be careful of picking RENEKTON next patch, guys. Now, another champion you have to be careful of picking in 11.6 is a support, who is the squishiest champion in the game. So if you want to die a lot while listening to music, pick SONA, aka Budget Seraphine. The increase in play of AD mid laners means you're going to get a bunch of assassins showing up in your lane at level 6, and there's only so much peeling you can do. The ease of access Grievous Wounds, the 11.5 buff to Serpent's Fang, SONA is struggling to compete in this meta, especially in higher levels of play. The early game, yes, you can harass your opponents, but one misstep, you're dead. And actually getting a lead in the first 10 minutes is hard enough. Just because you're not a Nautilus or a Leona, you don't pack any real punch. So 11.6 SONA, guys, hard to W on. Now, this next champion will also be hard to W on next patch, guys, and coming in at number 17 on our countdown is Rengar. Now, the Sleaze loves cats, straight up, but I can't run from the fact here, guys, that Rango is certainly not purring in this meta. In 11.6, Ravenous Hunter is copying a nerf too, so your sustain while you're clearing and fighting isn't as effective, and your clear anyway is nothing compared to champions like Hecarim, Graves, Lilia, Kane, and all them. So you naturally fall behind unless you pull out a level 2 cheese invade or something like that. Thankfully, the nerf to Seekers does mean that when you hit level 6 and ult towards that mid lane, you will be able to kill that unsuspecting mage, but in high elo where players know what you're up to, it's still tricky to make work and hard carry. So if you're a skilled Rengar player, guys, absolutely, you can win games, it's just going to be a lot harder. Now, I've got a question for you. Have you ever seen a buff champion in a worse champions video? Well, you're about to break that record because in 11.6, guys, despite receiving a little love, LeBlanc is going to be one of the worst picks. Now, as you can see, your W's mana cost is down at later ranks, but what does this actually do? Your wave clear is where you need an increase in power, not how much mana your spells cost. So this is very placebo indeed. And then we have the Seeker's Arm Guard nerf, which is especially terrifying for LeBlanc because one of your big counters in lane, this being Zed, it's going to have a much easier time adding numbers in your def column. In addition, your biggest counter of all, Kassadin, is still going to demolish you and is actually one of the better mid laners on the Rift at the moment, and you can't ban both of them. So the bogus W buff and AD mids being more prolific, 11.6 LeBlanc is a very risky pick. Now, in recent times, guys, I've had so many AD carries comprising these worst champions list, but there aren't as many on this one. So if you're happy about that, let us know by liking the video, but there are still some. The first of which is a champion who is actually a good counter to AD assassins, but this is every 3 minutes, and compared to other AD carries, she doesn't hit nearly as hard. So in 11.6, guys, you will struggle to 1v9 on Zyre. Yes, the 11.1 buffs to your E were nice, but your likelihood to win is still super low in any elo. You see, you need Peel to survive and get to that mid to late game spike, but this doesn't exist. Let's be honest with each other about that. And the only self-peel you have is in your ultimate, which has one of the longest cooldowns going around. So maybe you escape one Z gank at level 6, but what about when he reganks you at level 7 and then level 8? There's there's nothing you can do but embrace mortality. That was a little dark, wasn't it? So 11-6 die, guys, stressful times lie ahead. Now this next champion, guys, coming in at number 14 will for sure benefit from the Steris Gauge bug fix, even if the power of your stacks is down, but this isn't going to save you from losing top lane and game. Now for KLED, with just a 45% win rate in high elo, a sub 50% in lower elos, and in 11-6 your biggest counter Fiora, who will continue to be strong as, the top lane will be scarier than ever. Now Iron Spike Whip being 100 gold cheaper helps your early game out because you can get this earlier, and 30 AD is a sizable amount. You know, you have to respect it. But the truth is, guys, you pale in comparison to the meta juggernauts right now. Darius, Fiora we mentioned, Garen, Riven, and even against tanks who can buy an early Bramble Vest, it's hard to have a major impact. With Sunfire Aegis buffed, you might even have to go back to building that to stand a chance, so 11-6 KLED, guys, looking pretty grim. Now unfortunately for this next champion, yes, Mirror Mana was buffed last patch, but this hasn't had any real impact in pushing you in the right direction, so as EZREAL, guys, the losses are going to keep coming. Like so many marksmen, once you get your main power spikes, so in EZREAL's case with a stacked tier on Mirror Mana and Duskblade and Ravenous Hydra, you can definitely pop off and barrage your way through the enemy team. You like that one? But the issue is getting there. Now you do have self-peel because you have your Arcane Shift, but with Stridebreaker being so popular and every champion who jumps on you having a dash anyway, how do you survive? How do you not die in every fight before 5 major items? It takes too much time for Duskblade's ability haste to really come into its own, meaning that 11-6 EZREAL, guys, is way too team and game reliant to make work. Now I cannot believe I'm about to say these 4 letters. Are you guys ready? So the 12th worst champion of 11-6, guys, is a fighter bruiser who was one of the most highly picked and banned champions at the start of season 11, and now a 47% win rate, OLAF. And who can believe it? It feels like yesterday I was getting my head caved in by a Viking abuser in my ranked games, but this is now a rare occurrence. The nerfs to your healing, the nerfs to jungle camps, it's all too much. Now Smite is getting a buff, so you are healing more when you press F like a real one or D like a, yeah, not a real one. And the buff to Gromp is kinda nice too, but these won't increase your chances of winning. The nerfs to Hecarim, Lilia and Karthus, other junglers who love to full clear might make you seem more viable, but judging OLAF just him alone, 11-6 those veins in your arms will certainly not be popping. Now we talked about peeling not that long ago. Well, the ultimate peeler in the game, SORAKA, will continue to be as useful as that horn on her head. Like with SONA, the Moonstone Renewer nerfs in 11-4, the Grievous Wounds being more effective and more common than NA memes, and the RYZE and AD assassins who can one-shot you whenever they want. Yeah, look, I would not want to be picking SORAKA next patch. Now ahead of the Raka, guys, we have a champion similar to Rengar, another jungler who is underperforming in the current meta because clearing is more of a hassle than watching another pro guys ad, and this is Kindred. Even if you master her, it's hard to hard carry. Clearing monster camps is just an effort. You can get seriously low and it takes longer than other junglers like Uda and Hecarim because you lack that AoE, and this will be even worse in 11-6 because Ravenous Hunter's healing is down. Now what's also a problem is that though your ultimate is one of the best anti-assassin weapons in the game, its cooldown is 3 minutes in the early game. You like Xayah in that respect, and without it, you are as vulnerable as any champion on the Rift. Not to mention the fact that playing Kindred well is part anyway because kiting and positioning perfectly is one of the hardest ordeals in League, and a 47% win rate sums it up. Now if you're doing B, you have my permission to play RYZE in 11-6, guys. No, I'm just joking, any of you can play the blue dude with a book, but you're going to be smashing desks. You are the most killable mid laner in the game, and guess what? With Seeker's nerfed, how do you even go near a Talon, a Yasuo, a Yone without dying? Your short range and lack of defense also leaves you vulnerable to ganks. Even if it was a SORAKA ganking, you'd probably still die. With Stridebreaker's dash range as far as it is and the amount of damage in the game in general, Summoner's Rift is treacherous, and that could be the understatement of the year. You're also going to have less sustain in lane because of the Ravenous Hunter nerf, and yeah, winning is going to be even harder than it already was. Now this next champion coming in at number 8, guys, well, how many of you want to play a 39% win rate champion in high elo? So Amumu is one of the worst champions, let alone junglers, you can pick right now. Even with the Immolate passive reverting to what it was back in 10.25, yeah, you still suck. The Smite and Gromp nerfs, well, they might compensate for the Ravenous Hunter nerfs, but it's not like your power is going up because of these. So Mumu is still down in the dumps unless you are playing against people with potatoes. Now coming in at number 7, guys, we have a champion somewhat similar to EZREAL in that his abilities are a big part of his kit, but it's way trickier to win games. Okay, you have some nice poke with Duskblade and Mirror Mana, but after you throw a Q out on Varus, what else do you have? What are you going to do against assassins teabagging you and bruisers stride breaking? There is no answer. In fact, never mind those team fights, what about the laning phase, with Leonas and Rels picked in most games? You just have very little to protect yourself with and don't offer enough on the offensive side of things to be relevant in this meta, so 11-6 Varus, guys, expect to see red in that match history. Now another champion who's going to see a bit of red in 11-6 is a green blob. You see, Zac was great during the preseason, guys, and this was because Sunfire Aegis was absurdly strong. Well, Sunfire is getting some of its damage back, but it's not enough. Right, taking 100 HP off this mythic was the biggest hit for Zac because your whole kit revolves around having heaps of health. Now the extra 5 ability haste Spears will be somewhat useful because cooldown does matter, but this new jungle is far better suited for fast clearers, and Zac certainly isn't one of them, meaning you have to hope a lane or two is winning before you get to your mid to late game, and if something doesn't exist on the Rift, it is hope. Okay, we're now into the top 5, guys, and we have some big champions to reveal, but before we do, head on over to our website when I stop talking, because who doesn't want to improve their Summoner Rift game? You can be one of thousands with exclusive access to our fresh Challenger tier content, so join up and get amongst it. Links down below. So kicking off the top 5, we're heading back to that bot lane, guys, sorry about that, but we can't run from the fact that your chances of winning on APHELIOS are not that high at all. All you have to do is look at the 46 to 47% win rate to know how hard it is to get a W. Nothing in this patch remedies any of your problems, and your sustain in lane actually got worse because of the hit to Ravenous Hunter, so you're even more death prone. And yes, he is sometimes picked in pro play, but that's because pro teams are coordinated, well, the Korean ones anyway. Even if you do play perfectly, guys, and you don't die in lane and you get 10 CS per minute, you're still going to die and lose. Now, another champion you're going to lose on a fair bit is coming in at number 4, and this one is a top laner who has a 44% win rate across the board, one of the lowest in the game. Now, this patch, guys, 11.6, GANGPLANK is going to keep having a real rough run of it because Stridebreaker's active could be the dumbest thing in the top lane, and then there is no counterplay, and even if you do win lane, carrying a game is extremely difficult. Against half-decent players, it's hard to land your barrels, and when you've used 3 of them, what next? You stand there and queue a shielded AD carry who one-shots you? Sounds good. Now, Shield Bow, your go-to mythic, is getting changed too, so you're losing a bit of lifesteal, and the lifesteal in its passive for attack speed, and for GP, more attack speed and a bigger shield, which you're getting, is good for your dueling, so it's not all doom and gloom, but yeah, it's pretty close. Now, 3rd place on the countdown, guys, and honestly, you could well argue if you can play her that she shouldn't even be on this list, but when you have a 45% win rate, yeah, you've got to cop it. Now, for you Akali mains out there, you are getting buffed next patch, and these buffs are real, as in they do help you, but only from level 7 onwards when your Q costs less energy. Until that point, guys, it's going to be a tall as order to be relevant because your passive no longer restores energy, your base health is down, and yes, your Q for the first 3 ranks costs more energy, so you are going to get bullied out of lane on the reg, and with Seeker's nerfed, you are probably going to die a heck of a lot more unless you play under tower and are happy with being 20 CS down at 5 minutes. If you are an Akali master though, you have reason to be happier, no doubt, because your mid to late game is better, but yeah, getting to that spike is 10 times harder. Oh, and the AP ratio in Fleet Footwork is nerfed, so your sustain is worse off, and add the Rav Hunter nerf into the mix as well. Now, the runner-up, guys, to the worst champion in 11.6, this mid laner has a 42% win rate, and yes, you heard me correctly, 42%. And next patch, this is unlikely to get better. In fact, it's got more chance of getting worse for AZIR. Now, as a scaling champion, you need time to power spike, but with a weakened Seeker's Arm Guard and Ravenous Hunter and the Q nerf from 11.5, it is looking worse than before, and this is a real shame. AZIR was picked in pro play for a patch or 2, so Riot decided to go clay pigeon shooting. The buff to Rabadon's death cap, like who cares about that, and the changes to Liandry's and Luden's are of no real benefit, so AZIR is once again in the top 3 worst champions. I'm sorry about that, guys. Right, here we are, the worst champion in 11.5, and as always, I'm going to read out some clues and reasons as to why this pick is the worst, so here we go. I am filled with the dark power of unnatural magic. Just not enough of it in 11.6. Shield Bow is getting changed, and though the attack speed is good on me because it enhances my passive and kite ability, lifesteal is crucial to my survival. The Ravenous Hunter nerf hurts too in this regard. Now, in the early game, I am strong with Halo Blades on my E, but as the damage in the game goes up, I become way easier to kill, to the point where if I get hit by one slow, I'm gone. There's a reason I have a 45% win rate. I am the worst marksman and champion on the Rift, and I am KALISTA. Congrats if you guessed it, guys. I was going to say something about Spears, but it would have made it too easy. Remember to hit the sub button before leaving so you don't miss tomorrow's upload. This has been Coach Ease, and until then, peace.